Good evening and welcome to another episode of The Unstoppable Overcomers. I'm your host, Dorothy Odell. And tonight's sponsor of the show is the Camaraderie Rescue Mission with their Heroes, Badges, and Warriors fundraiser. We still need your help, guys. There's over 200 and some odd $1,000 to raise still, and every dollar counts, guys. We so appreciate you. With 44 veterans dying a day by suicide, we are stepping behind Camaraderie Rescue Mission and definitely we need to get our programs funded so that we can help more veterans. So go to tinyurl.com/hope for vets to donate. With that, I have the distinct pleasure of bringing Mel McSherry to the screen. Welcome to the show, Mel.
Hello, thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be amazing. Mel is one of those amazing, badass women that you just love as soon as you meet her. But I'm going to let her tell her story. So, Mel, tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Mel McSherry, and my pronouns are she, they. And I am an international business and life guide, speaker, author, and podcast host. And my main passion is I love to help inspired entrepreneurs not only honor their lives, but also engineer their own success. And I do this by utilizing a spiritual tool called human design, as well as a lot of strategic, traditional tools that I've accumulated over my 12 plus years of being an entrepreneur. So I've been an entrepreneur since 2010, which is crazy. I feel like time has just like flown by. And I've been through, a lot of shifts, a lot of maneuvers, a lot of oopsies. And it started all in the fitness industry. I was a certified personal trainer. I did in-home trainings, outdoor boot camps, whole 9 yards. And then when my son was born in 2011, I was married at the time, and it was just too difficult to travel to people's homes. My now ex-husband works in Major League Baseball, so he's gone 2 months straight for spring training, works every single home game, takes every other away trip, and our son was born in the middle of the baseball season. I'm located in Chicago. I'm not from here originally, so I don't have any family here. So it's just like, oh, 30-year-old me, new mom, sprinkle in a little postpartum depression, and bam, you have yourself a very interesting first year. So that definitely brought kind of my first pause in my entrepreneurial journey. And the thing is that I always like to say it let me take a step to the side, because I really don't believe, in steps back, because you can never go back to where you were because you're not the same person. But I always love to say, take a step to the side and look at it from a different angle, or take a minute to be in it. Right. So with that kind of first pause, I decided to do some online medical billing. I was a VA for an IT company for a time. I was a VA for a consultant. And I was just trying to figure out really, what I wanted to do. And it was during that time that I started bringing back to life my fitness passion. And I was approached by an online health and fitness company, a network marketing company. And they told me, how I could make money online, being a health and fitness coach online. Really loved their, their morals, their values, all of that. I was like, yeah, sure. This seems something, pretty interesting. And the funny thing is that I always love when you tell stories and you see that first ping of like, that's really what I was supposed to do. And that came in this, where I went into it just wanting to be a health and fitness coach. And in network marketing, or MLM marketing, one of the ways you can make more money is to grow a team. And I, at the time, was like, who am I to tell somebody how to build a business? That's just silly. And so I just kind of went on and did my thing, but I ended up being one of the top coaches in the team that I was on. And so I was asked to do a training on how I do this with a newborn, barely home support. And I'm still consistently doing this. So I made my first training on how I prioritized my time. And she put that in the boot camp. Our team, with that training, all of a sudden exploded. We were the top 1% of the company that year. I got asked to start doing that call on other team trainings. That got the attention of some of my friends in other network marketing companies. So I started doing the training for them secretly. And then fast forward to 4 years later, I'm in the middle of my divorce. And I figured if there's any time to just really reinvent myself, it was then. And luckily, through the company I had a 6-month internship with John Maxwell, who is like the legit guru of all coaches, and really fell in love with this idea of quote unquote coaching. So left network marketing, started my own company in let's see, where are we at now? 2015? Sounds about right. I don't think years matter anymore. And it's been such a beautiful, growth ever since. And my focus has always been on showing people how much control they have over their time, over their choices, and really building a blend for themselves. Because I really don't think there's anything of a sense of a balance, but finding that blend that works well for themselves and what choices they have and what resources they have. And the beautiful thing about now amplifying that with human design is now I can customize it. So now I can see literally who they are and really show them how to utilize their strengths, their strategies, so they really are making, the most profitable choices. And for me, profitability is threefold. It's mentally, emotionally, and financially. So that's just been my go-to ever since. I launched a podcast this year, which has been amazing, and it's been a fantastic ride.
Absolutely love that. And what's the name of your podcast?
It's called More Than Just.
More Than Just. That's right. So go check it out, folks.
Yes,
because
please.
It is an amazing podcast as well. I've definitely listened to a couple episodes, so definitely get over there and watch that too. But getting back to your overcoming story, having a baby all by yourself, in the middle of everything, that with no help. I mean, I give kudos to women that do that. And, I always said, that was one of my biggest fears of being basically a single mom or a mom, like you have a partner, but they're not there to help you.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for figuring it out. And
I'm still figuring it out, because just to make it a little more spicier, my son is autistic. So every day is something different. But thank you for your sweet words. I really appreciate them.
Well, I mean, now, yeah, there are, I don't know about in the States, but here in Canada, there are support groups, because I looked into that. There's a family member of mine that is autistic as well. And I'm like, how, listening, and it's, I don't mean take this the wrong way, but it kind of sucks your energy sometimes, because, having to be on all the time. Right.
Yeah.
And how do you support that with, working and being there for him, but also being there for yourself. So definitely getting the help is needed for sure.
Yeah, it's key. But I will say this, my journey was, and I've actually had a discussion like this with several other caregivers whose kids are autistic, is that, it takes a grieving period. Some people don't like that term. It's just the term that I identify the most with, of, your child is not typical. And therefore, all of the tricks that you read in every single book and every single piece of advice that every single person has ever given you doesn't work. And it was a trial and a shit ton of error. And I will say that I didn't really have, I had a great family, but I really didn't have any special space to talk about it. Because honestly, I didn't feel comfortable talking about it yet. It really wasn't until he got older and I could wrap my head around it. That's when I started being more vocal, especially on social media, about him. And, it's definitely one of those things of, he has great support. I'm so blessed that his preschool teacher was the one who asked to have him evaluated. He'd always been developmentally delayed, but none of his pediatricians really mentioned anything, of being on the spectrum. And it was her. It was like, I'm just noticing some certain traits. I don't want to, cause any alarm, but information is good to have, so it's not going to do any harm. And I was like, absolutely. And the fact that we go to a public school here in Chicago, and the fact that we were luckily next to a very good public school here in Chicago that has really great services, he's been able to get the services that he's need every single year. He's in 6th grade this year, which is crazy. Wow. And middle school is a whole nother bag that I don't think anyone would ever train you for, but we're getting through it.
Well, and it's like kids, no matter what age or what they're going through, it's like boom, they grow up so quickly.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, as they get older, and then we get new problems, right? And I especially with my 11-year-old stepson, I get it. I was first introduced to him when he was 5, so from age 5 to age 11, and I'm like, that kid told me off the very first day I met him, and I was just like, why didn't I run? I was just like, oh my gosh, right? Like, seriously. And I was never not used to that, that's for sure. And definitely especially when I come from a home where kids were to be seen and not heard. And so dealing with the ins and outs and the trials of being a parent, let alone a step parent or a parent with special needs, I'm like, it's like,
that's definitely trial by fire. Yeah, I have a very loving partner who's been living with us for the last year and a half, and he doesn't have kids. So he met Max when he was 7, and kind of the same thing. I'm just like, I can help you, but really you got to find your own rhythm with him. Like, you have to find your own ways with him, because it doesn't work if it's not me. So it needs to be something that comes from you. And so it's been really fun to see their relationship grow, and also just to see Max, who's my son, have such a great village around him. Because now my ex is with an amazing partner. She's fantastic. And the 4 of us get together and, we do his birthday party and we talk to each other. And so the fact that this kid has such an amazing village, I know it's not very typical, but I'm so glad that it's mine, because I don't know how long that's would have lasted.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I made a point to make sure that, okay, when somebody first separate, there's always friction, right? But I guess my husband's blessed that the background that I came from, my brother went through a horrific divorce. And so I knew what it was like to be on, the guy's side of things and seeing, how that works. So I said to my boyfriend at the time, I'm like, you know what? I do not want to grow up. Like, she's going to be in our lives forever. So let's make the best of this, and let's, drop whatever stuff is going on. And, now, what is this? Almost 6 years later, here we are. And the mom and I are like pretty cool. Like, she'll call me instead of my husband. And that's the relationship. And I love hearing when you said that's the same thing. Like, for his birthday, this was the first year we got together for his birthday, all the same, went out for dinner. So that was nice. And I just love it when parents can do that. Like, put your stuff aside and just, be there for your child is what it boils down to.
And it's sometimes easier said than done, but I was lucky to have a very amicable divorce. My ex-husband and I love each other very much. We were just better friends than anything. And it was very, it's very quick and not dirty. And, I'm still obviously extremely close to, because it's, especially when you have a child, it's not as easy to just, peace out and separate. But even with my ex-in-laws, we talk all the time. My ex-in-laws still hang out with my parents. Like, that's just how I grew up. I grew up in a family that's just, once you're in, unless you've like really done something horrible, and then we'll still let you in, but we may not trust you with like sharp objects. But it's so beautiful that I, can continue to have that environment for Max, even though it's not your traditional environment.
And that's what I love. I love that you said that, because, we get to create our own traditions. And that's what it's all about. Like, especially since my dad passed away, I'm like, okay, let's just create something completely new. Because and who cares what other people say? And because you're right, it boils down to what's right for your family. And like I said, I absolutely love that, because there's so many people that, once they break up, they make it hell for the children. And then they like tear them apart. It's just like, for what reason? You're only
Yeah.
hurting the child. You're not hurting your ex. You're
Yeah,
only hurting this
exactly.
guy.
Exactly. You're causing damage that's going to go way beyond anything you ever imagined. And I would even say too, you have that permission in anything. Even, obviously predominantly I work with entrepreneurs. They get stuck in, well, I should do this. I need to do this. I need to be here. Like, you have full say. And you have full say in everything really in your life. I mean, obviously there's gonna be things that are out of your control, but making your own traditions or choosing how to do your business the way that you want to do it, go for it. Like I'm so ready, and I'm so excited to be part of this change of just like, let's get away from this lemming style, build your life 6 figures to 6 seconds, la 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 la, speak and just be like, let's embrace who we are, what we want, how we want to create it, and support each other that way without going, oh, you know what? No, you should really do this. Like, so many areas of life you can just, tell people to F off, but nicely, and do you. Or maybe not nicely, depending on the person.
I love that you said that, and maybe that's why we get along so well, because we both have the same mindset of that. I definitely don't do everything cookie cutter, and I have had several people tell me I should do something differently, several coaches, and I'm like, you know what? I get what you're saying, but to my core, if I don't believe in it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, if I can't convince my unconscious mind to do it, then it's not being done.
Well, and it's so funny that you say that, because I was the exact opposite. I was the tell me what to do and I'll do it perfectly so I can get the gold star and the pat on the head. And so I was the queen of copying and pasting. And that served me rather well, for like surface level. Like, on paper, I was speaking everywhere. I was making good money. I was traveling. I was doing all these things. And internally, my whole system was like, what the fuck? Like, nothing felt mine. And I really had to, I mean, this was probably one of the blessings for me for COVID and for lockdown. I got to go to a spiritual retreat 2 weeks before lockdown. And so nothing like going to a spiritual retreat, having the universe be like, okay, we're going to start, peeling stuff back, and then having 2 years basically to marinate in it and work with it. And, it took me a bit to really figure out what really is it that I wanted to do with my business, and what wasn't just indoctrinated in me through my mentors. My father's an entrepreneur, so I grew up in this world of entrepreneurship. So making sure that the choices that I was making, the goals that I was making, were really mine, and not just a way for me to get validation or mostly validation, to be completely honest. And it was in that kind of breaking down and finding human design and really seeing, oh, I'm not crazy. And then utilizing that. That's why I feel like it's such an important tool for anyone, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. But yeah, I was definitely the tell me what to do and I'll do it times 10. And then I was like, oh no, that's not right either. Nothing like your 40s to find yourself.
Well, and that's funny you said that, because I've said that several times. Just tell me what I got to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
But then the second part of that, though, is if I know that that's not what I want to do, it's like, my spirit stops, and it's just like, no. So it's funny that you said that. Like, I've had it both ways, but if I don't believe in it, I'm not going to do it. So.
Yeah. That's such a great conviction, because even that in itself is sometimes hard to find with. Like I said, I use entrepreneurs a lot as an example, because that's kind of the most seen we are when we're solopreneurs, that everything could be out there if we wanted it to be, and we're putting our heart on a plate and trying to sell it to people. And even that connection to your gut, right? Of like, no, this is no go. For you to have that and to act on it is so beautiful, because a lot of it is just that of like, no, trust yourself. Like, really, you know yourself better than anybody else. And yes, everybody's here to help you, but they've got their own agendas as well. Not all are, angled and evil, but they can only see so much and connect to so much. So it's really up to you to go, not so much. And then, from there, see what are the next steps or options that you have, if you can see them at all right now.
Absolutely. I love all that. And I love the fact that you said your dad is an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I grew up, I kind of like, So my grandfather was the black sheep of his family, and I'm kind of like the black sheep of mine, because
I'm a black sheep for different reasons, but that's for a different show.
and well, it's funny because my dad, I grew up where, you went and you worked for somebody for 40 years, you collect your pension, and life is great. So when I wanted to buck the system and I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I started, oh my gosh, you name it, I was in it. Anything from candlelight to prepaid legal services to whatever. I had done it back when I was younger. Travel agent type thing. And so they were always like, well, why do you want to do that? And, and I took risk, and some of those risks failed horribly.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like crushed. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Or just doesn't kill you.
Or just doesn't kill you. So, so my dad's like, well, I don't understand it. Right. But he didn't realize, it was my grandfather used to have a printing business down in his basement. Yes, the government knew about it, guys. So it's all good. I mean, he's been gone for 20 years, so it's not like anything's going to happen with that. But anyways, so my grandfather, he doesn't remember that well, maybe he does remember, but my grandfather was an entrepreneur, and then I picked up after that. Right. So it's just like, it's funny how things go. And my dad, even my brother, when I wanted to start something new, oh my God, why don't you just get a job and just go to work? I'm like, because seriously, it's killing me to stay in that desk.
Yeah. Yeah. No, my dad, I grew up, so both of my grandfathers were entrepreneurs. My grandmother owned her own business. So I have a lot of entrepreneurs in the family. Entrepreneurs and teachers seem to be like the top two categories in my family. Okay. But with my father, it was always interesting because, I grew up and we lived through several very unsuccessful businesses. I mean, so unsuccessful that we had to move from Colorado to Arizona. He worked, out of a shelter for a while. Like it was, things were tight for a good long while. And at 40, he decided to go back to school and get his master's in counseling. Started a company with just him and a secretary doing behavioral health assessments. He had kind of a dual ship of, he worked with Salvation Army Emergency Services, as well as started doing kind of first responder work. And then that leaned into, he realized that there was such a need for ER psych evaluations, especially for suicide attempts or for, traumatic calls. And so he created this entire almost concierge-like company that now, 26 years later, it's a multi-million-dollar company in Phoenix. It's one of the top behavioral health companies in Arizona. He's got a contract with every single major hospital, and now he does work with first responders, Mesa Fire Department, FEMA, whole 9 yards. And him and my mom now are like living the life. Like, it's funny when I tell people what my parents are doing, they kind of look at me and like, no, I didn't grow up with that. I grew up with, government cheese and ramen, but it's been, really beautiful and a great reminder for me as well now in my 40s of, it can happen, and it doesn't have to happen at a certain timeline. It doesn't have to happen by a certain age. So to be fair, I had to work on that for myself because I was in a little bit of a competition internally with my father, lovingly. But to be like, you know what, girl, let go. Like, if you keep doing what you're doing, I may not have the life of my parents, which is totally fine. But the fact that it's possible no matter what stage you're in, and also knowing all of the things that he sacrificed and how long it took him and how much it worked, like, they were very honest with where the money wasn't and, what we need to do to make it work. And I always appreciate that because I never had this rose-colored look of being an entrepreneur. I just knew I couldn't work for anybody else. Like, I tried it for a corporate gym for a year, hated it, and just knew that I could have full say and just do my own thing because I, grew up with that. So I think that too of like, this day and age, this generation, it's so weird when you're now that age when you can say that, of entrepreneurs that have a little bit of that rose-colored glasses because all they see is social media. All they see, when I started my online health and fitness business, Facebook was the only thing. And Instagram was just kind of sort of kicking off, but we didn't really know what it was. And so there wasn't really a lot of imposter syndrome going around, right? Because I didn't know how to compare myself with anybody else because it was just me. And now this, this other generation seeing people making money super quickly and being Bali babes and yada, yada, yada. I think it's definitely construed what entrepreneurship is, as well as just kind of, I don't want to say bastardized it, but it's just made it this thing that it's so much harder and yet so much more rewarding than what they're toning it down to, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people, see that mentality, and that's why they're so afraid to go into business.
Mm-hmm.
They see all that, and it's like, yes, being an entrepreneur has its great points and it has its low points, but
Mm-hmm.
that, if you traditionally surround yourself with amazing other women or men that are business owners to help, lift you up, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm part Saturday mornings. I'm part of a mastermind group. There's eight of us total, and without those women, I know that I probably would have given up long before now.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do, right? You got to
Yeah.
surround yourself with those. And I never had a group like that around me, and that's why it's like, you know what? Even if this takes me 10 years, fine. I mean, obviously, I don't want it to take 10 years,
Right.
but but if it takes, as long as it takes, as however long it takes, right?
Yeah.
And for somebody who is a high achiever, like, that's hard to say some days.
Yeah. And that's the space I love to hold for people, is to, yeah, not every day is easy and not every day is quote unquote successful, but it can still be a good day.
Yeah.
And it's having those moments and those reminders of, I know I'm trusting the process, which I know is such a buzz term now, but it really is true, trusting the process and continuing to check in on you. Like, am I taking care of myself? Because this is not, gone are the days of hustle and 9 to 5 is for the week and yada, yada, yada. I think COVID definitely taught us is that, we now value other things that are not materialistic. Is money phenomenal? Absolutely. So are the things that it can provide for you. But I think definitely with the fact that, we got to spend so much time either with family, or for some of my close friends, completely alone for almost a year, finding that deeper connection, or that deeper, like just that deeper need of,
Yeah.
I want this to be more than just this, or it's more than just the money. It's more than just the time. It's really making sure that you spend the day enjoying where you are and who you are, because we don't know. I mean, not to sound like morose, but you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, and what you are in is today. It's that saying, today is a present for a reason.
Yeah.
And so no matter, I mean, it's good to know your goals and it's good to know where you're going, but to get so caught up in it, that's when you start really losing the beauty of being an entrepreneur and just the beauty of being a human.
Absolutely. And here in Canada, we were basically, it was 2 years for us.
Yeah.
So it was longer. And in that time period, my dad was going through his chemo treatments and things like that. And I lost my last Christmas with him due to the COVID and, certain circumstances around that. And it's just like, so, but COVID has also given me a lot. Like, I wrote my first book and, knew that, okay, working the 9 to 5 was not something I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and really stepping into what God has called me to do. So, it had its great points, and then it had its, like you said, I used to be complete extrovert. Now there are days that I just want to stay at home. I don't want to leave the house.
Yeah.
So Kimberly says it's the antisocial thing, right?
Yeah.
And the first time I had one of my girlfriends cross the border after the lockdown, and she's like, "Well, I'm coming to your house." I literally had a full-on anxiety attack knowing someone was coming to my house. That was, even though it was Michigan, like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my God. Like, I didn't realize how bad I had gotten. Because
Yeah.
I had seen friends, well, not even friends, just family.
Yeah.
So I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I remember the first time, because I used to travel a ton. 2019, I was traveling a lot for speaking. I think I was traveling almost every 6 weeks, and that was my respite. So it was like my self-care. And I would always time it where I'd fly in the night before I spoke and I'd fly out the morning after. So I'd have that kind of, away time. And somebody would be obviously with my son. And I realized during COVID how much that centered me. But then also when things started to get more relaxed and we traveled for it was this summer actually that we traveled for the first time. Yeah. I was like, ugh. It's so weird how something that was so day to day for me was now like making me think. And just like, and to your point as well, before the lockdown, I was like the networking queen. I was networking all the time and you could not find me in a room. And the first networking event I went to after lockdown, it was a brunch. And I texted my partner about an hour in. I'm like, my cheeks hurt. I can't pay attention anymore. I'm done. Like I can't do this anymore. And so even the way that I quote unquote network now is different because I do more one-on-one stuff. And I've always done virtual coffees. That's been my thing since 2010. But even more so of like, gone are the days of the constant big groups. Hi, my name is Mel and doing the da-da-da. It's who did I fall in love with and who do I want to spend more time with? And then who can they, introduce me to, and doing it more that way. And so it's been really cool to see how people have, like I said, kind of walked away from these things that are preached so loudly to us as entrepreneurs or just as humans in general, and really starting to go, you know what? No, not today, Satan. Like, this is just not it.
I love that you said that because, oh my gosh, in my teens, I was going to network meetings and I hated them because they're all cliquey.
Yeah.
And like I would drive, I lived in Chatham. I would drive to Windsor, where the bigger city is, where more of the business people are. And it was so cliquey. I'm like, I just drove an hour. So, and like no one, I know, granted, I was a little more shyer back then. And so, I basically met one or two people and that was it. I didn't feel comfortable. But now with the pandemic, like I have been to so many online Zoom networking meetings, and that's where you and I actually, I believe, met, was at Women Belong.
Yeah, we got introduced through Women Belong. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I love networking like this because, you have people's one-on-one attention and, you basically all have your turn to say something. And then the ones that really spark your interest or that you have at least you know who they are, and then you contact them afterwards.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's been really great. And that in conferences as well, like speaking in so many spaces that were so overly booked with all these different tracks and all these different things. And every single time I would get any kind of feedback form after speaking, that would be my number one feedback is like, stop trying to cram so much in. Nobody needs all that shit. Like I get people either brain dead or one track is late. So you've got people coming in and then people coming out and then nothing runs on time. And nobody really then is applying what they're learning. They're just so overwhelmed afterwards that like they can't even process what they even were inspired to do to begin with. And noticing now that, not that we need to be in smaller numbers, but having more spaces that are doing smaller numbers and less speakers and more intentional time with each other has been so beautiful, not only as a speaker, because then I'm not rushed everywhere and like running from here to there, wherever, but also just, I've attended some as well where I can sit and really take in with the speaker and then have time with the speaker and ask them questions or network with people next to me in a really intentional way. And I really hope we stick to that. That also the fact that a lot of them have a virtual, ticket as well. So for those who are financially not able to travel, which I can't do all the time, they're still making things accessible for people. So I think the accessibility and the intentionality now in spaces has been so beautiful since COVID.
Right. Our friend Anne-Marie says totally more intimate for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you build the solid relationships. And I really didn't get it until the last year, where if you build your army around you, if you're intentional about who you network with, build that army around you. And then no matter what, like there's always going to be people who know somebody who may need what you need or want, and vice versa. Like last week, oh my gosh, I was like networking like crazy, doing one-on-one meetings through my lunch hour and at night. And that one person led me to 5 people. And it was, and now I'm more to come, but we're launching something else in the coming weeks.
Oh.
So, and this person that I networked with was, well, like, well, I deal with nonprofits, like the big wigs, and small nonprofits. And I'm like, oh, of course you do. Because that is who we're targeting, these nonprofits that, need to be seen and heard. And I was just like, wow. See, and if you just build that relationship, I think it's better for everybody. And, instead of talking to 100 people a week, well, what if you just talk to 20 good people, good meaning quality people that, you both can collaborate with, and, those people, you know how it is.
Yeah, I agree. Like the fact that I made it the intention to just go back to relationships that maybe had dropped off after COVID or even like that. I've gotten more beautiful introductions this year than ever. And because it is from a trusted source, it's not just granted, I've met some really amazing randos that have slipped into my DMs on LinkedIn, not judging that. But when you have somebody that's already like, you should meet Dorothy, she's pretty awesome. And it's somebody who I already know is awesome. It's like, absolutely give me some of that. And it becomes an instant conversation. Like, I think you and I really didn't talk for that long, but it was just like, we drove in. Like, it wasn't this like, don't tell me what you do. It was just like, well, how awesome are you? Let's just talk about that. And we just had the best conversation. And that's what I love. I think that actually what inspired me to make the podcast was, we do get so caught up in these stories that we have to tell or these titles that we have to tell. And, because we wanted to lead generate into something that's, again, so indoctrinated in us with networking. And really, it's the relationships that create more profitability for you. So on more than just, that is my focus, is to give people space to share how they are more than just the titles and descriptors that follow them, so we can get to know each other. And that has been, I just actually held an event last week as a celebration for season 1. And the people who came, who I'd never met before, who had already listened to the podcast. And but the funny thing is, I'd never met them before. In about 5 minutes with each of them, we found at least, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Because Chicago, as large as it is very tight knit. And I love that about it. And all of a sudden they're like, do you know Dazima? I know Dazima. How do you know Dazima? Oh, Right Foundation. Do you know Barbara Burgess? I sure do. And it's just like, and so it's having that thing where it's a stranger, but within 2 seconds, you're already connected way deeper than any other, this is what I do. This is my ask, which I shouldn't roll my eyes at that. I know that serves a purpose. However, I would much rather have conversations like this, let me go as deep as you let me go, because I'm a naturally nosy person and I will go there if I feel comfortable. Because that's when you start really seeing who people are and really then knowing exactly who to connect them with, because it's not this like, oh, you said nonprofit? Well, I know nonprofits. I'm already thinking, I know nonprofits, and like, you just need to know this person because they're amazing.
Absolutely. And before, I don't want to overstep this, but Anne Marie is one of those amazing powerhouse women that you really should connect. She's on Facebook. Ooh. So definitely I can connect you in the messenger with that. But I was actually, the very first podcast I was on was her and her husband Mark's podcast. And that was the night that it was December 8th, and I remember it because that was the time my dad was re-diagnosed with cancer for the second time. And we just got the news. I was just supposed to go on to her show. I got the news and then go on her show. She says, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. She goes, we can reschedule. I'm like, no, let's do it. It's through everything. I never rescheduled anything. Because that's not what my dad would want. It's like, just continue. Life is the way it's supposed to be, right? But Anne Marie and her husband Mark are amazing people. They're actually another set of Canadians. They don't live too far from me either. Nice. They're a couple hours away, but yeah, amazing people, definitely. I'm glad she popped on, so that's awesome.
I love that. It's always the best.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, and like I said, I love what we were talking about before I went on the squirrel moment.
That's all right. I love squirrels.
My backyard's full of them. Oh my God.
I have in my office. So I live in a 2-floor brownstone, which is a smaller kind of apartment building. And I'm on the top floor, and there's a tree. I have a window right here in my office, and there's a tree in front of it. So that's all I do is space out and just watch them like go crazy. The neighbor next door used to have a huge bird feeder. So then to see it like fight with the seeds with the birds was instant. I mean, the fact I live in Chicago, there's always instant entertainment somewhere. But
as long as I don't have to drive through Chicago, I've been a couple times now.
Yeah.
Love the city. Love my friends that are there. I have a crap ton of friends in that area. And I will be going back at some point. But as long as I don't have to drive.
I don't own a car. I haven't owned a car for 15 years. My son and I are total, public transportation people. My partner has a car because he works out in the burbs. Mm-hmm. But even then, I'm always like, let's just take the hour. I'm like, that's not drive. I ride my bike. Like, yeah. I tried to drive around here for about 6 months, and my car got hit twice and towed. And no, I'm like, this is stupid.
I can see why. That highway is like nuts.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it didn't help the first time we drove there. It started to pour rain, and then it started to get dark, and my husband doesn't do well and then driving in the dark and in the rain.
Oh, so nobody does in Chicago, actually.
Well, no, and I prayed the entire time, and he looked at me and goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "You know what I'm doing." He goes, "Oh, that's right. Continue." Continue.
Yeah. Every time my partner drives, like tomorrow night it's supposed to be raining on on his commute home. And every time I'm just like, just take your time. Like, because he gets frustrated about people. I'm like, just ignore them. Just you do you and take your time. I don't care if it takes you 2 hours. Just let people be assholes and you just keep going.
I love that. Let people be assholes.
Yeah.
They're going to be anyways, no matter what.
Right. So let them go home to whatever they're going to go home to. And you do you.
Exactly. Oh, I absolutely love that. So where is the best place that you want people to connect with you at, Sherry? Or Mel? There I go with Sherry again. Sorry.
Honestly, it happens so often. And it's usually because there's that space in between the Mick and the Sherry. And even in high school, whenever we would have, that's why I said you'd be surprised how often that happens is, I get telemarketers and they call me Sherry. Or when there was a, substitute teacher, they would just see the space in Sherry. So they just think that's my first name. And they think my last name was Mick for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I get called Sherry a lot. Sherry and Michelle.
I guess it could be worse.
But no. It could always be worse. Whether I know about it or not. So the two best places to find me would be LinkedIn for sure, and Instagram as well. And then I do have a website, melmcsherry.com, very easy. But yeah, definitely the two. If you want to stalk me or get to know me better, is definitely LinkedIn and Instagram.
And I highly recommend stalking this woman. Like, she's amazing. Check out her podcast. Now, is your podcast on Spotify or?
It is. It's on Spotify and Apple. And yeah, it's called More Than Just a Conversation. I don't know the whole long title because there's a couple of More Than Just. But I can send you the link if you want. You can kind of share that so they get the straight to link.
Right. And I think I had put it in the show notes. I'm pretty sure that I did. Pretty sure I did. Just go stalk the show notes. Go stalk Mel. Sorry, Mel. I did it again. Oh my gosh. All right. Enough of me talking because obviously I'm getting tongue-tied here. So we're gonna go to the fun section of the show. Not that this wasn't fun.
I was like, good Lord, that's bringing something in.
Right. I mean, we've had fun, but it can get completely just watch especially because we have the amazing Kimberly, but we also have the Ghost Ship Warriors if we can get their internet to stay connected.
Well, it's Dorothy. It's actually kind of appropriate since they're the ghost ship.
Since there's what?
They're the ghost ship.
They're the ghost ship, right? They come in and then go out like ghosts.
They're always present. It's like God, he's always watching.
They're always present. So fun, right? Always, and just so in love with the Holy Spirit and you, Dorothy, personally, and the show. So a couple of things about the show. First of all, everybody needs to really get that Dorothy and I have completely surrendered this show to the Holy Spirit. So I don't know who she's having on, and she doesn't know who I'm having on. And that's been the structure this year. So here's what's so crazy about the conversation you're having. First of all, Mel, you're in Chicago. I live in Valparaiso.
Oh.
You mentioned 3 people on the show tonight that I know personally.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So everything, like, it's like the whole conversation tonight, I'm just laughing my you know what off. Which is a good thing because you know, letting go of that, right? Yeah. That backside of me getting smaller every day. So there's that element, right? And then the other thing that's just so crazy is the ghost ship. So as the roving reporter, I am technically in Key West, Florida tonight with the ghost ship, which is founded by and captained by literally Captain Perry and Captain Steve, who y'all can kind of see
this world.
The little round thing going round and round on the show. And they're dealing with internet connection issues down there. But these guys are the epitome of human beings that are giving selflessly of themselves and have created this amazing offering, which Dorothy, can you play the video?
Yep, I was just bringing it up. Let me.
Now, guys, this is just, I'm going to preface this video before she puts it on. This is the kind of thing they do. They have taken their own personal sailboats and they take veterans out dealing with PTSD and or suicidal tendencies. And they literally take them for a week down into the dry Tortugas so that they can get nature therapy, sailing, water, nature therapy. And there's no technology, there's no nothing out there. This is their maiden adventure with a group of military women. And this is just a quick little video on the kind of offering that they give to the military. Dorothy,
So
you want to play it?
Yeah.
I got the booty, come a little closer, 'cause you're a cutie. Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum, you wanna get some? I'm sailing across the 7 seas, trying to find the gold or an island breeze. You've got the map and I've got the keys, and I wanna know who you are. You see, I've been out to sea for a few weeks, and you a sight for sore eyes like these. You ain't gonna hear a pirate plead, you ain't the only one in this fire. Yeah, I'm a pirate 'cause I got the booty. Come a little closer 'cause you is a cutie. Yo ho ho, I got a bottle of rum and you wanna get some. You see the violence on the sea made me tough. Well, I can handle long voyages. I like a rough, the motion in the ocean and the size of the wave. It all matters at the end of the day. Yeah, I'm a pirate 'cause I got the booty. Come a little closer 'cause you is a cutie. Yo ho ho, I got a bottle of rum and you wanna get some. I wanna get that sweat dripping, dance floor drifting, sway until I'm making you a little seasick. And the ship is rocking and the boots be knocking and I'm dropping like it's hot up in here. And I'm a pioneer, so let me show you. We can hit the deck on the plank or in the ocean, 'cause I got the goods and I wanna get to know you. And I got some buried treasure, let me show you. Yeah, I'm a pirate 'cause I got the booty. Come a little closer 'cause you is a cutie. Yo ho ho, I got a bottle of rum and you wanna get some. Yeah, I'm a pirate 'cause I got the booty. Come a little closer 'cause you is a cutie. Yo ho ho, I got a bottle of rum and you wanna get some. Yeah, I'm a pirate 'cause I got the booty. Come a little closer 'cause you is a cutie. Yo ho ho, I got a bottle of rum and you wanna get some. Yeah, I'm a pirate 'cause I got the booty. Come a little closer 'cause you is a cutie. Yo ho ho, I got a bottle of rum and you wanna get some. Yo ho ho, I got a bottle of rum and you wanna get some. Yo ho ho, I got a bottle of rum and you wanna get some.
Hey, you winches, get up there and pull the anchor!
do? Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum. You want to get some?
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Right? So
I
go ahead.
I have to say something though. Let me get rid of this stop sharing thing. If y'all didn't notice, one of us is actually on that video, and it isn't me. So Miss Kimberly was actually on that ghost ship experience with our veteran community, and definitely, and the amazing Molly Clarkson, who is the executive director of Camaraderie Rescue Mission. So
Very cool.
yes,
Yeah, and so this is the real deal. And Dorothy, if you could put up, I mean, I know you already have put up the link for their Patreon site. The what's so of it is they have been doing it tirelessly and financially, basically sucked dry, sending veterans out. And the difference it's making for these veterans, they're like, we don't care. We're just going to keep doing this until, and back to the show, right? It's like, it takes what it takes until the funding is there, right? And so anything anybody can do, Dorothy and I, literally sponsored the sponsor tonight inside of our commitment, because we know that they're the real deal and they make a real difference out there, and they're doing it every day, and they're doing it with literally blood, sweat, and tears at this point. So they're amazing, amazing humans. And with that, listen to how fun. These are their fundamentals, right? That they gave these to me because, of the technological issues, so they couldn't do them themselves. But this is how crazy our show is. Wait till you hear what these fundamentals are without them having watched the show. Okay? So, and spending the whole show trying to get on technology-wise. So Captain Perry's is number 1, jump in. Chase life, not money. Number 2, be you. Everyone else is taken. Really own your individuality and get the importance of it, get the preciousness of it. And then number 3, really pay attention to how rich your relationships are, and kick the ones that aren't rich to the curb. And then Captain Steve's fundamentals are, and Captain Steve, if I get this wrong, I apologize. But basically what he's trying to say is, you'll only regret the things you don't do. So do your best to live regret free, right? So like just go and fail, and whatever, but like you'll never regret failing. You'll only regret that you never even tried, right? Kind of thing. Number 2, get rid of all negativity. That's number 2 for Captain Steve. Like you want to constantly be on the hunt for any negativity, either energy, people, conversation, whatever. Just be on a constant hunt to take that out. And then number 3 for Captain Steve is life's short. Don't wait. So those are theirs. And Mel, we'd love to have you wrap it up with your amazing fun. And what I wanted to say is okay, it's like they watched your show.
Right. Yeah, shoot. I mean, the ones that actually put the form, well, that doesn't match. I need to now step up my game because these were really good fundamentals.
They're totally complimentary to everything we were inside of tonight, right? So Mel, with that, we'd love to hear your fundamentals. Your 3
So I would say the first one is a quote that is from John Maxwell that has been a go-to of mine for years, is, in order to create what you want, you have to say no to the good, so you have space to say yes to the best. And that one has always just been such a big indicator. It's just so easy to the mediocre, no. If it's not the best, you're not gonna miss out on it. The other thing too, and so actually probably the number 2 would be, there's no such thing as a missed opportunity. I'm such a believer that everything isn't presented to you at the right time. It's presented to you for the right reason. And if you think that this perfect job or this perfect opportunity, you have to do that term, have to, it's a whole nother conversation, but you have to do this in order to create it. I do murr all the time. Then in my mind, it's not that they're giving it, the universe is giving it to you, or God, or whatever, whomever you believe in, because this is the right time. If it's not the right time, it's to show you that it's possible, that there are opportunities and people like that out there. When you are ready, then the perfect one will come through. And the third one I would say is just trust yourself. Like, there's so much unknown in the world, and that's okay. You don't know what you don't know. So just trust yourself. Trust what you know to be true. Trust what you want. Trust who you are. Know that those will expand and grow as you do. But just know that I'm actually like giving away like 5, 6, 7 fundamentals, but probably less, because you are the singular most important person in your life and in your business. And so you need to make those choices for you, so then you can be the best version for whomever else is around you, near you, and what you want to create.
Stunning.
Absolutely.
Stunning.
Wow.
I know, right? Like the decadent richness of the show tonight is mind-boggling.
Absolutely.
Well, I just have to say that's definitely a testament to you two, for sure. So the fact that, and I've watched a couple of your shows, is the fact that you always seem to have such amazing people on, not only people on, but just so many different takeaways and so many different stories, and everyone is worth something, if that makes sense. Like, that is such a testament to not only the both of you and having your faith, as you said, this is being guided by the Holy Spirit. So your trust and faith in what's being provided to you and who you are, but just who both of you are as a whole is such a testament to that. So brava, like, this is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for those of you,
take that in. I
Receive, ladies.
Yes, we're receiving. Yes.
And I noticed lately that even though I tell people to celebrate their wins, I am just like, I have a hard time doing that.
And you used to have a hard time doing that.
Have a hard time doing that. And it's funny because this guy I just met that when I was networking with, I explained he's a veteran as well. And I said, guess what happened, Dylan? Like, guess who I have booked for in February? And he's just, so I told him, but I'm not going to tell you guys right now because you'll have to wait till February.
Spoilers.
But spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
All I know, he's from Hollywood, guys. He's from Hollywood. And so anyways, so he goes, oh my God, that's amazing. You need to celebrate that. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
you're right. I went out. I told my husband, he was laying on the couch. I told him, he was just like, okay. And then that was the end of it. And then I'll just say that. I was just like, I really, really, really need to receive that. I like how you said that you had a wrap up, a season 1 wrap up party, because I didn't even do that for my season 1. And that was before Kimberly really came on board. So that was all on me because I'm just used to do.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, it was phenomenal because how the podcast is run is we are run off of funding. So we're like PBS. So how I put the show out in the world is through sponsorships and financial contributions from listeners. And the fact that we were able to put together 13 episodes and already have almost 6 episodes funded for next season, I was like, we got to celebrate not only, what More Than Just is, but also the guests. I mean, the guests are so amazing and their stories are so beautiful. And yeah, it was kind of nice to hear such nice things said about me too. But it really was that, like, we really do need to celebrate these conversations and these connections and what this is doing, whether we're aware of it or not. Because waiting till you hit a goal or waiting to something to celebrate now.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
More celebrating.
More celebrating.
Yeah. Well, moment by moment, right? It's so great because that is anybody who knows me, even remotely intimately, knows that's my passion, is that all life is celebrated. Mm-hmm. It's harmoniously engaged and celebrated as intended. Mm-hmm. And it's living as intended. And so, again, the Holy Spirit doesn't know when to stop. I mean, Clearly, we are on the right track, Miss Dorothy.
Clearly. And for those of you that want to go and listen to that amazing YouTube thing for the Go Ship, there it is there. And if you would like to go and donate to send more of our veterans on to the Go Ship experiences, that is the place to donate. And so, wow, that's just been amazing. Mel, is there any last words that you want to say before we wrap this site tonight?
No, just thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be in this space and to share. It was so much fun, and I will be totally honest, you know, I've done a good amount of interviews or shows kind of like this, and the fact that it was already such a comfortable, fun space, and that again, like our first conversation, Dorothy, we just went there. It's so refreshing and so beautiful. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for creating this space. Thank you for allowing me to be in it. And yeah, if anybody ever wants to stalk me, have virtual coffee, just poke me, and I'd absolutely love to get to know anybody and almost everybody, but for the most part.
I love that. Yes, go stalk her on her LinkedIn in a good way. In a good way. I don't want any police call people. And if you're one of those creeps that just want to find a woman
no
on
sliding into my
LinkedIn,
DMs, folks.
don't slide into her
Yeah, well, we've
DMs.
already said we say no to that, right?
Yeah, we say no.
keep
That's not even
upgrading.
good.
Yeah.
That's the no, honey.
And because we do know the military, guys, and we know what to do. We have
got
the
your
army.
6 now. We got your 6.
You got
Love
your
it.
6. We are surrounded by our community. We're good.
Beautiful.
I just want to say a quick hi shout out to Robert. Robert's from Alaska, so thanks for joining us, Robert. And so with that, guys, we'll wrap this up. Thank you so much to everybody in the comments. Thank you for those watching the replay. And hey, Tim, good to see you.
Hi, Tim.
Thanks for joining us. So with that, be unstoppable in all that you do. We'll see you same time, same channel next week. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.